Well, good afternoon. My name is Kenny Daniel, and today I'll be talking to you all about The Walking Dead. But more specifically, I'll be talking about one of the characters on The Walking Dead known as Shane. Now, a little bit of background. Shane, he isn't really around anymore. He's not in any of the current episodes, or really even within the last two seasons. And that's because basically, he is a chaotic leader, and due to that very fact and nature, he didn't really make it that far in the series. So, today I will be talking to you about Shane, the chaotic leader. So, who is Shane, anyways? He's this guy from The Walking Dead, but what does he actually do? What does he provide to the story? As you can see by the picture, he's in the front with a gun, kind of shirt, button-down shirt, looking pretty rugged, pretty ragged, pretty cool. Cool guy, big bad dude with a gun in one hand. But then you look in the background and you can see a young boy and a girl. And both of those characters will meet throughout the rest of this little tad bit. But the female's name is Lori, and the kid's name is Carl. And he kind of plays the role of the provider for them, in a sense. And it's a little bit controversial, so let's keep going. So, who is he? Well, before this whole apocalyptic world starts, The Walking Dead is a apocalyptic show about what happens when the world is overrun by zombies. Basically, he plays the role of Rick's police partner and his best friend from high school, Ford. So they have a long history together. This isn't just a new relationship that they built on the catalyst of this tragic event. Instead, they have known each other for a very long time, which makes it very controversial when he develops relations with Lori. Now, Lori is, in fact, Rick's wife, and Carl is Rick's son. So, to give you a little bit of backstory, basically, Shane and Rick are doing a mission, and they're trying to stop some people that are running away in the car, and they throw down some spike strips. The car they're pursuing flips over. However, Rick gets shot, and he goes into this long-term coma, and everybody thinks that he's basically dead. He's a vegetable hooked up to life support, and during those months while he's in the hospital, the world gets overrun by zombies. So, Shane gathers up Rick's wife, Lori, and his son, Carl, and takes them away with him in order to try to protect them. So, to make it even more controversial, as the episode, we're keyed in through the episodes, he develops a physical and love relationship with Lori. Now, you might think, wow, this is pretty controversial stuff, and well, it is, but you have to take into account the fact that everybody thought Rick was dead. So, he was kind of on the back burners of their mind, and just trying to survive the everyday constant flow of zombies was probably enough to want to get out some frustration, if you know what I mean. Anyways, throughout the series, though, we see that he does not remain the fun-loving man that he once was. Instead, he becomes a changed man. So, why does that happen? What is a chaos system leader? So, basically, I'm going to break it down for you. There's four parts that really play part in what a chaos system leader is. So, it is one who is held within the context of a rapidly changing world. The second is one who uses rational processes to make decisions. Third, one that does not necessarily control the group, but uses influence to achieve success. And lastly, largely a reactionary character. So how does this really apply to Shane? What does this look like in actuality? So, he is purely reacting off the unfolding chaotic systems of the zombie apocalypse. Like, you have to understand, if you've never seen The Walking Dead, I would highly recommend watching it. However, this world is not like the one we know today at all. there is no form of government. There's everything has been destroyed. Like, it's a complete barren wasteland of destruction. And there's small groups and put together, basically like resistance survival groups, just trying to live as long as they possibly can, lingering on the hope of maybe a one-day future utopia of safety and success like they knew prior to this event. So, due to that, people are constantly running around in these small forms of self-made government groups and just trying to live. So, he's one of the leaders of a group, and he is simply reacting to everyday events, just trying to make his group survive as long as possible. So he's purely reacting to these events. Second, he makes really hard and really personal decisions to prolong life for both himself and the group. And a lot of times this can either really upset or please the audience watching this series. So, for example, in the very first season, one of the episodes, one of his group's members' husband, okay, that's a lot to take in. Basically, a lady in his group has a husband that beats her and calls her names, and just is completely sexist against women in general. Now, Shane being the chaotic leader he is, he takes this matter into his own hands, and he begins to beat the man senseless, telling him to never lay finger on her again, or else there would be even more hell to pay. So, due to this, we can see that he takes extremely radical approaches to solving problems. And, well, they ultimately get him killed when he tries to... I'm not going to spoil it yet, but I do want to tell you, if you've not seen all of the episodes, especially revolving around Shane, there's going to be some spoilers. So, next, he is an extremely influential character. We see this from the beginning all the way up until the end. Even though the group might be afraid of him at times, they all really rely on him for his strength, intellect, and overall leadership abilities. So let's dive into each one a little bit more. First, the chaotic system. So as I briefly described, this world is controlled by the Walking Dead. We see a complete breakdown not only in Shane, but humans as a whole, as they have to just get rid of their morality, and they start killing zombies and even other people at times. Some people become cannibals, other people just kill in the fear that they might be killed by the other people. So it's a complete dystopia of fear and pure reaction. So, again, he is a completely reactionary character. He doesn't really plan any of this stuff to happen necessarily. It just happens because that's the world he lives in. And humans are reduced to a very primal nature. Second, the rational process. So Shane really does react very rationally throughout the entire thing, trying to make the best decision for the group. So, for example, it was almost completely just selfless when he goes and rescues Lori and Carl. He really steps forward, goes into his Rick's home, and rescues his wife and son. Why? Because he does care for Rick, and he cares for his family. They were lifelong friends. I don't think he was trying to get a booty call out of anything. That happened later as a side effect. It wasn't his main cause, or it wasn't why he did it. He did it because he's a very selfless man. He wants to help others. So second, he is very harsh towards Rick and the group at times. And we'll see that in moments through some of the remarks he makes towards the groups, oftentimes yelling. And just really bringing down this sense of harsh justice. Like, if you want to survive in this post-apocalyptic world, you can't be a nice, fun guy. You have to make hard decisions. So he's harsh towards Rick and the group, upsetting several members a lot of the time. But through that, he really paints a clear image of how much work and how hard it is to survive in this world. And without that influence, I don't think that Rick would be alive today. And finally, of course, he kills countless amounts of zombies. He kills walkers left and right. And this, I think, personally plays effect on his psyche, but that's a whole nother thing. But again, he does this for the safety of himself, but the safety of others. He really exerts himself in just protecting the group and supplying them with whatever need he possibly can give them. So here are some quotes to just further show that the harsh attitude he puts forward isn't just to be a jerk, but instead it's to help prolong the group's survival. "As long as I'm around, if you ever need anything, just call me," he said to Carl. So this was in season 1, really before Rick was, too stable in the world that he was immersed into so quickly. He was really just assuring Carl that if he ever needed any help, that he was going to be there for him. And at one point in the episode, he also makes a remark similar to this, saying that really Rick, Carl, and Lori, those are 3 people are his only meaning to life. He doesn't include himself in that statement. He's a very selfless man. He's trying to help others. He's being rational. He's reacting. He's showing all of the very similar signs of this chaotic leader, trying to help others through hard circumstances that constantly change. Second, the right choice is the one that keeps us alive. Again, this shows that he's ditching this morality sense. He's getting rid of so many things that humans need to be human, I guess, really. And he's just simply doing what it takes to stay alive, whether it be kill people, kill zombies, upset people, throw his best friend under the bus, etc. He's simply trying to stay alive. Third, the most important thing is that we need to stay together. This just shows that, again, he's really trying to be a team player here. He's not necessarily the one in charge. He's not calling the shots because in the chaotic theory of leadership, there is no true leader. It's simply people reacting to a series of events. And that's what he's doing here. He's reacting to this event. He's reacting to this zombie apocalypse. And he's trying his very best to keep people together and intact and to react as one whole group instead of making individual decisions, which would ultimately get them all killed. And then finally, the spoiler has arrived. It comes down to, I believe, in the 3rd season, when Shane and Rick finally meet a catalyst where they can go no farther. The two have 2 very extreme different approaches to how this group should be governed. Shane wants to be with Lori, but Lori is Rick's wife after all. And basically, it comes down to it. Shane is going to kill Rick. So Shane pulls a gun on Rick while they've walked away into the distant forest field away from the group and is about to kill him. And then Rick has no other option but to stab Shane in the chest, killing him. And then Shane is reanimated as a corpse zombie, as a walker, as they put it, and then Carl comes up and shoots him in the head. But before this unfolds, he says, "You have no idea what I had to do, what I have to live with," demonstrating he is not necessarily happy or pleased with the actions that he has had to take to survive and to help this group survive. He was being selfless through it. He was being reactionary. He was being a team player. So, let's look at his influence very briefly. So, up until the very end when Rick had to kill him, he had the complete support of the entire group. Of course, they didn't necessarily like him for it, but I think everybody had a very deep, embedded respect for him, even if they didn't necessarily agree with what he had to say all the time. And honestly, I believe when Carl shot him, there was more to it. Carl said that he was a zombie, but I think that the screenwriters were trying to portray a much deeper meaning, as Shane was going to kill Rick. And that is the danger of chaotic leadership. So, basically, when humans become completely reactionary, they lose a piece of themselves. They ditch their morals. They become completely objective on trying to complete the mission and no longer take into account, oftentimes, the effects of their actions and how they will influence people. So, as you see these two pictures, we have the early stages, the very first time we get to meet Shane. He's a very caring individual. He brings flowers to Rick at his hospital bed, and he talks to him like a friend. And then we see later, much later in the season, he is trying to kill Rick with his very bare hands, throwing him against cars and trying to get zombies to bite him. He lost himself. He lost himself. He's no longer a friend. Instead, he has become something much worse than a walker. He's become a man without morals, a man focused on the only effort of survival. He has become a chaotic leader.